Welcome back, right, guys? Episode 2. Here we go.
Episode
Today,
2.
we are going to be
We
talking
did
a
it.
little bit about genre.
Yep.
A little about genre.
Okay. Yeah, there's a little about genre. There's about, man, this is a fun episode. We got deep. We
Got shallow.
we got shallow, and we talked about how important it is to have both.
Indeed.
Almost you can't have one without the other.
Yeah, how would you know?
Full scope. How would you know? So you're just gonna have to listen to figure out what exactly we're talking about. We dive in on Ben.
Yeah, you guys are probably going to get to learn a little bit about me, unless you're the two people at home who already knew who I was. Hi, Mom and Dad.
Julia. And we are going to dive in. We're gonna bring back from episode 1 Lyrical Deep Dive, and we're gonna dive into one of Ben's songs with Ayumi.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. And man, I already like this song, and after talking about it, I'm excited for everyone else to just expand your mind with Ben Orthy and Ayumi. And then we are introducing a new segment called That But Then.
Yeah, we're going to take out those time machines, get some stories, and just start sending characters to different places and see what happens.
Yes, it's very fun. And we are going to go over the writing challenge from last week. And we had some awesome submissions and like general laughs. And like I was like that. I am just blown away. Like this thing is off like a rocket in my mind and my hopes for what this thing would start fostering. Yep. So thank you for your submissions, and we share again our submissions to the challenge, mine and Ben's. We read them to each other,
and those are the recipe stories that we've had cooking since last week.
Yes, it was called Cook It Up. We decide it's now called Cook a Book.
Indeed. We're still fleshing out the names.
Where you write a story that is also a recipe, and then we are going to introduce the new challenge. But you're gonna have to listen to it to figure that out.
Yeah, so stick around to the end because you don't want to miss it.
Yep. Here we go. Episode 2.
Hey.
We're doing it. We're back.
We're back. Right, guys. I'm Ben.
Hey, I'm Micah. I'm a right guy. Ben, you're a right guy too, right?
I think so. I think when we started, we were trying to make sure that we didn't have any wrong guys. And it was a big or left guys. Like there were just kind of problems on all sides, so we really wanted to make sure we had two right guys, and here we are.
Well, it started out.
The right
it started
guys.
out as it started out as a room of like 15 people, and then we just decided to these are all wrong.
Yeah.
It's just
wrong.
Gonna be us.
Left,
everyone get out.
Read some of them.
Ooh,
yeah, read guys.
I see what you're doing there.
And now we've got all the right guys back home as well, all the viewers. Which it's been so great releasing the first episode, seeing the reception. I really have been guarding myself against expectations of some kind of negativity on the internet, and I've not yet been met with that adversary. So honestly, the reception has been amazing. We're so happy with the fan base and community that we have so far. So thank you guys so much for listening.
Yeah, I gotta agree 1,000,000%. I already so many subscribers on YouTube. I really didn't know how the challenges were gonna go over and how like engaged people were gonna get, and it's been amazing right off the bat. Submissions to both stories, and not only just people participating, but great ideas, and like it's been inspiring for me to read them, and then also to like hop in and engage. Like there's been a lot of conversations about just people asking questions like I want to do this, but I don't even know where to start and all this stuff, and being able to swing in and just be like, hey man, just take it easy, just start writing, no right or wrongs, just dive in, submit it, don't submit it. If you don't want us to talk about it, but you do want to submit it and want us to read it and just kind of give you some feedback, just say that. Like totally,
Yeah.
just have fun. If you're starting to get stressed out, you're missing it.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just been like a community is already growing.
Yeah, it's been great engaging with people on the page. If you haven't followed yet, Right Guys Podcast on Instagram and Facebook, me and Micah are in there every day. So
yep.
We love interacting with you guys. The community is so like small and tight knit at this point that it's super easy to keep up with, and it's just like joy.
Yeah.
So I do want to dive right in here. And
okay, I wanted to say one more thing.
Yeah.
Something that we're working on that Ben and Julia, Ben's wife, who's amazing, which if you the beautiful splash page that we see, and we'll probably end up meeting, our logos are coming from her. We're working on rightguys.org.
Yes.
We've also snagged rightguyspodcast.com, so either one's going to work. But we want to have a universal landing page instead of strung out across 4 different social medias and everything. But what our goal is we want to be posting our favorite the challenges that we decided to talk about and our own challenges, so you can actually go in and read those. We're also working on PDF accompaniment to each episode, so because it's just a lot, you get a lot more out of being able to read along than just listening to us read through it once. But so we're working on those, and like things like dead words and everything. We'll have our graphics up for that, so you can share those with your friends and everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, just more to come. We're just grooving.
Yeah. The website is coming along, and there will also be a submission page for the challenges. So that's one of the things we're really excited about, is sort of having that like modeled in a clear way for everyone that is the same. So it's not like, oh, you can email us or DM personal accounts, DM, right, guys? It's kind of a lot of ways right now, commenting to get the stories, and we want to make that like an official streamlined process. So that is also going to be part of the website.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, hopefully we can have a version of the website live when this episode airs, but it may be more like when the challenge is due. Mm-hmm. By the time the challenge is due, but we'll see. Be checking back for that. We'll post about it when it's up for sure.
Yeah. Well, cool. Let's. So we're starting a reoccurring segment that you're gonna see. Like we were talking about how we've got all these things we want to talk about, but also like just the random stuff, like what's on your mind right now, like. And so we're just gonna dive into that just to kind of break the ice and dump what's going on in our heads outside of Right Guys and everything like that. So Ben, what is on your mind?
I saw the movie Us last week. Did you see that Jordan Peele horror
I didn't.
film?
No.
Okay, I won't spoil anything at all, but like
I'm definitely gonna see it.
The concept of a horror comedy is something that is really cool to me, and something that I've always been really into. This like genre sort of like crossover. So like there's have you seen do you like horror movies?
Love horror movies.
Have you seen The Visit? M. Night Shyamalan?
Oh.
Okay.
No, The Village. I've seen The Village.
Right. So the Village is another really cool genre crossover horror romance. But like so The Visit is horror comedy, and it is absolutely, in my opinion, the scariest movie it's the scariest movie I've seen, to me. And it is also like hilarious. Like it's funnier than most comedy movies, like laugh out loud funny.
What?
and it does this like it's it does this through, I think, like the alchemy of duality, but it's like the closer you put opposites together, the more they can define each other and show it's like dynamics, sort of like we were talking about in the last episode. Um, but I find, like, the term comic relief
Yes.
is like one of the most fulfilling like things you can have in comedy. One of the funniest kind of moments you can have is one that removes you from a moment of tension, right?
Yes.
Because there's like a whole dimensionality of like emotional weight that you can kind of play with there, and as you put the opposites closer together, the concoction becomes like more and more potent,
more erratic, more unpredictable.
Yeah, and I love Jordan Peele's horror movies, and even you could see in the sketches from Key and Peele where they would tap into horror themes, how good they were at that, and how good he's always been at wedding those things. But I wanted to, there was this, it's the second chapter of the Tao, just the first half of it. When people see things as beautiful, ugliness is created. When people see things as good, evil is created. Being and non-being produce each other. Difficult and easy complement each other. Long and short define each other. High and low oppose each other. Fore and aft follow each other. So like the concept of horror and of fear and of comedy are all totally subjective parts of the human experience that you can only really tap into by making people feel things. And like feeling and all senses are totally relative. So like the maybe like the most relatable or easy example to talk about from that passage is like high and low define each other. Like if you think about like raising your hand to here, it's like, okay, this is high and this is low. That totally works, right? But if you just say this is high, and then someone starts talking about the height of the sun in the sky, this is low.
Right.
And
that's beautiful. I mean, it's very valley for the mountaintops. Like you got to experience the valleys to appreciate the mountaintops. Like there, you need some type of dynamic. Like how deep is deep, and that it's that puts it so beautifully. What's the Tao say? What is it? What's the actual? It's so simple. And that's
yeah. This is it's in the first half of the second chapter, which every translation is different. But when people see things as beautiful, ugliness is created. When people see things as good, evil is created. Being and non-being produce each other. Difficult and easy complement each other. Long and short define each other. High and low oppose each other. Fore and aft follow each other. Long and short define each other, I think is it. Yeah.
That is just, that's drinking from a fire hydrant right there.
Yeah.
I love how that's put. I'm so glad you brought that up.
Yeah,
so it's interesting in that vein, because you've mentioned that like in just talks hanging out, you've mentioned that like horror comedy has been like this like idea that you've had for a while, like how would I do that? Like I want to see it, and in what we just talked about, that totally that could work. I haven't really like I haven't seen the concepts of opposing views kind of purifying and exemplifying each other as well as you just put it there. And now I'm thinking about horror and comedy, and also like fear and hilarity, like are like your body responses are pretty similar. Like if something is so funny, you can get to a painful state of like I can't breathe, I can't stop laughing, like you can't hold it in. And the same thing with fear, like you can get to states where you literally can't breathe, you can't talk. Like there's an interesting mechanism going in there. Maybe the body's reaction is actually much closer.
Mm-hmm.
I have to get like a psychologist on here or something.
Yeah. We need a right guy's doctor on staff.
Yes. Give up old Sam Harris a call. Let's see if he wants to hop on and talk about this. See if he's a right guy.
So what's on your mind?
Okay, so not nearly as deep. Vampires.
Yeah.
All right, so I love Magic the Gathering, and I've been a huge fan of Wizards of the Coast and just, Dungeons and Dragons, Magic the Gathering. And what I love most about it is they're all fun and they're very well done, but also just their visuals married with the lore and their writers that they have that can like fit in. There's this beautiful like fantasy visual, and then this like one line of excerpt that can fit on a card that has to be fit under all of the mechanics of the card as well. But every once in a while, that one sentence just makes what you're looking at. It's already an amazing picture. You're like, oh, it's badass. This freaking dragon is also the forest. It's got trees growing on its wings and everything. And then you read this description, and it's like, seeing the forest for the trees was never a problem for Greenwind, or something like that. And you're like, whoa, Greenwind, like, oh, cool. That was just made that up. They're much better than that. But anyway, Magic just rolled out their new season, and it's the Crimson Vow, Crimson Bride, or something like that. Either way, it's all vampires. A lot of it's vampires. And the idea is that it's an ancient vampire wedding, and it's like so you've got wedding guests. All the guests are vampires. You've got these like blood fountains and like these zombies walking around like serving like blood and everything. And now there's like blood vials is this new thing where you're creating these with all these things. And some of the vampire factions are getting into fights, but then also the like everybody who opposes vampires, like spirits and werewolves and humans and everything, see this as the big opportunity to massive vampire clans coming together. This is the chance to eradicate the highest point of the vampire reign. Mm-hmm. And so you've got all of the attacking creatures and stuff like that is like Party Crasher Wolf and stuff like that. And like Bar the Windows is like an artifact that you can get where the art is like, it's just called Bar the Windows, but it's a definitely like you can kind of see the outline. You're like, okay, this is definitely a castle and there's windows, but there's like a werewolf trying to tear at it. And like, it just really sparked my creativity, and seeing like the bride's finery or the groom's finery is like what the groom's wearing, and it's like that's an artifact, and then like the bride's dress is an artifact, and if the two are on the field at the same time, certain things happen. And so I've just been really sparking in the vampire space. I'm already totally addicted to vampires. I got a vampire tattoo. Like I love vampires, but
that is just such an interesting take for like a new card pack, like to like so I've never played Magic. I'm not a Magic the Gathering person. I used to play Yu-Gi-Oh, and it's like in Yu-Gi-Oh the themes are super predictable, where it's like this is just they went to another Magic world and it's just a bunch of magic monsters. Like it's like each thing is just more monsters. Yeah. At least as far as I was into it, it's probably crazy now. So I've never played Magic, but to have this is like the normal game, right? These cards just fit into, like you said, when you have the brides being on the field at the same time. So like it's just they're just battling it out with like the ant clan on the other side of the field.
No, so that's what's amazing is that there's thousands of cards. And so every time they roll out a new season, they roll out new mechanics, but it still fits. Like you can still like it still fits within other things. Like vampires have been a part of like a creature type in Magic forever.
Right. Yeah.
And so like even so a lot of the vampires things are like, oh, if you know, when this one hits the field, for every vampire you control, give plus to blah 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 and everything, or like every time if you dealt damage to the other player. So, you know, conceptually, it's like if blood has been drawn,
Right.
every vampire enters with an extra +1 counter on it, and blah blah blah, or can't be blocked or something. So, but now it's like you have, because I've been playing vampires for a long time. I've got all these vampire cards that I've collected, and then this comes out, and it's like I can bring them to the wedding, you know, like,
Yeah.
and it's just cool. And so whenever you're playing, your imagination's going, and like even if like Shane is Shane's all werewolves, like he's a werewolf guy, and so we're mortal enemies, and whenever we play, like he'll be laying his werewolves out, and like in my mind I'm like, oh, you're not crashing this wedding, no way, this has got to happen. This is big stuff. And he's like, oh, I'm gonna wipe y'all out, you know. And it just kind of gives you a really creative sharp background
Yeah.
to play this incredibly involved mechanically game.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just, so I've been vibing off that, just like going through. I haven't even finished building my deck for it, because every time I get on, I spend a solid like 2 hours just reading the cards and looking at the art and just being like, oh, whoa. And then I dovetail and think like, whoa, what would a story be like for that? I'm gonna write that one.
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
sick.
it sounds crazy. As I said before, I've never played Magic, and I still just I can't quite get my head around the concepts that you're talking about, and
I know.
put them over my Yu-Gi-Oh brain. But what would you say is your favorite like vampire lore?
Oh man, that's a really good question. I oh, currently, I mean, vampires and I, we go way back. You know, I fell in love with like Interview with a Vampire, and then even to like vampire comedies like Dracula Dead and Loving It, which is like a Mel Brooks.
Have you
And
seen What
then
We Do in the Shadows?
yes, loved What We Do in the Shadows. Um, and but like recently, I thought very fresh take. Oh, Underworld. Have to mention Underworld. I have an Underworld tattoo. No big deal. I'm a death dealer, so don't talk to me. Um, but one of the freshest takes I've seen was the Netflix animated Castlevania series. I thought they did such a good job, and like concepts of how Dracula's castle is like this machine. It's kind of this like this gigantic mech that runs on like ancient technology and teleports around and stuff, and
Mm,
he like hops through time, and I was just like, it was so fresh. and
yeah.
and then and then you've also always got vampire hunters, and they're always like from some like amazing family. Like just the whole like vampire space, I think, is really dope. Another very um, fresh take on vampires was 30 Days of Night, and that's with Josh Hartnett, but
I
it's
yeah.
based in Alaska,
I've
and
never
it's like,
seen it, but I remember the trailer. That came out when I was very young.
yeah, I would highly recommend it. It's an awesome horror movie already, and it's not like hokey at all, but it's just like it spins vampires in a different way, and it's like, damn, it's sick.
Yeah.
But yeah, so awesome. That's what's on our mind.
Yeah, I mean, all this talk of vampires, werewolves, fantasy, it does make me think of genres.
All right. Possibly. I mean, hey, so well, no. But I mean that right there, you've got a comedy, Dracula Dead and Loving It, What We Do in Shadows. Dark Shadows was another one with Johnny Depp's in it, but it's an old show remake. But that right there is like one concept, like a horror concept, and then done in comedy, but not like what you're talking about with the where the actual show is both actually terrifying. and actually hilarious.
Yeah.
I'm excited to excited to watch Us. That's gonna be cool.
Yeah, dude. You should watch have you seen Get Out?
Yeah, Get
Yeah.
Out's great.
Get Out's really good. And then The Visit, as I would definitely
The
recommend too.
Visit. That's what you say. Yeah. I'll check that out too. Well, I'd like to move along.
Yeah.
And last episode we focused on me a little bit and kind of fleshed out for anyone who's not familiar with my band, was probably a ton of people. That I just kind of like to flesh out you for everybody a little bit more. Um, and I wanted to kind of talk about how we met. Um, I said in the last episode that we met through the band, but it's actually a really fun story, and you kind of get a taste of our friendship and our passions in it, like for writing in the story. But we had a contest where, or not a contest, but we had a crowdfunding campaign where you could buy a pizza party from our band, and whenever we came through, we would show up and throw a pizza party for you and your friends and just hang out.
I pretty much started a racketeering campaign in my community because I find that like oftentimes if you scroll down far enough on those Indiegogo things, you can find something really irresponsible that they put on there, and it's like for $10,000, it's like you can come out and be our friend for a month and like write an album with us or something. It's like things like that. And so I was kind of on the lookout.
Yes.
I don't know. I found I feel like a good price point for them to come and have a pizza party with us. And so I started putting together a list of people who might want to contribute and might want to go to a pizza party with O Sleeper. And it was not very difficult to find enough people to put together the money.
Man, I'm so glad you did. We walk into his house, and immediately everybody or all of his friends are on the couch playing Bloodborne already. And Shane and I, and there's no talk about this or anything. Ben and I don't know each other at all. He had just come out to the show.
I have a correction, dude.
Okay.
Me and Shane actually, to plan instead of planning the pizza party, like he would text me like, hey, we're going to be coming out to Philly in 2 months. Should we plan the pizza party? Then I would be like, yeah, this is blah, blah, blah. This is the address, this is the situation. And then he was just like, hey, I actually don't want to plan right now. Do you want to play Bloodborne? So instead of planning the pizza party, me and Shane would actually just hop on Bloodborne
For
and just
real?
play Bloodborne.
I did not know that. Yes.
Yeah, so me and Shane had connected over that. So
God, I'm a little jealous. I could have been running with y'all.
Yeah, we did. We killed quite a few bosses pretty easily.
That's so sick. Well, yeah. All right. So unbeknownst to me, we walk in and they're playing Bloodborne. And I'm just like, oh, these are our people. And pretty soon after, Ben and I escaped to his room, and he showed me his Bloodborne lore books, which for anyone listening who doesn't know what Bloodborne is, it's this fantastic game for PlayStation.
We're obsessed.
We're absolutely obsessed. But it's not like the reason I am obsessed with Bloodborne is it stretched me for it kind of defined how I play games now. But also while doing that, because it was incredibly hard. While doing so, the art paired with the lore and the writing and the execution of all of it is 10 out of 10 flawless. And there is times that I would like it is actually terrifying, and you can really get immersed in it in the entire setting. And there were multiple moments there still are multiple moments playing it where like I'd round a corner and see the next monster I'm supposed to kill, and I'd just sit there and be like, whoa, what is that? And then I learned the name of what it's called, and like everything just has implications. Like everything is thought out, everything has meaning, everything like and the items that you get, like on surface level, you're like this. It doesn't mean anything. Like it's a pebble. Like why does this matter? What does this music box do or whatever? But if you take the time to read the lore of everybody, there's hints, and like it really sets up this whole moment of discovery thing. It doesn't just feed it to you. Like it's really it's kind of like, how deep do you want to go? Well, guess what? There is levels to every depth that you could go, and you can play the game and have fun time, never diving into all that stuff, but it's still there.
Yeah.
And you and I connected immediately on that. You showed me the character book, the lore book. We unpacked all that stuff. It was just,
and I mean, you touched on it, but I want to stress, like because I can only speak to, I only am fluent in English, so I can only speak to the English translation of the game, and I don't know like who did the localization, I guess. But like, just as it stands, just the English text of that game is like probably one of my favorite pieces of writing ever. And I honestly, all of From Software's Souls-like games, the dialogue writing and description writing is absolutely beautiful.
I agree 100%.
Yeah.
I've got a current dream of mine is to get a resume put together and just like spam it to Wizards of the Coast and FromSoft, and just, even if I spam it for like 20 years, and then one day if they bite and they're like, yeah, come on and write some cards, or like, yeah, why don't you come on and help out with like some world building on the next
Dude, with
thing.
FromSoft, like, that's one of those frontiers.
My life is complete.
It's scary to me to even think about trying to attain that, because to me, they are the authors of what makes writing good. If I were to work there, then we're all just off the rails. Then I'm just making shit up.
To put in perspective, for people who aren't in the game space, the next game from the creator of Bloodborne is called Elden Ring. That comes out next year. And who else but George R.R. Martin is writing it with the writer of Bloodborne. Like, it's their dream project. They both are huge fans of each other, and they have huge respect for each other, and they decided to like make this dream child together. So that's like, so the writer of Game of Thrones, which is like one of the biggest stories out right now that everybody knows, hit mainstream fell in love with it. He respects this guy too, and now they're writing together. So it really is incredible.
And I'm a big fan of George R.R. Martin, but I would say I'm more a fan of like his world building than his actual like sentence by sentence style. And that's what makes me really happy about the game, is like that's where he consulted and worked, was on the background world building, backstory and lore, and the writers are ostensibly the From Software team who are still writing the dialogue and the descriptions and things.
I feel like I wouldn't be. I feel like that kind of environment, though, if you got brought onto a team like that, to me, yes, it's absolutely terrifying. And do I think I could hang with those guys? Absolutely not. But the pressure cooker that is, like how big it would be to me. The inspiring, like the just the morale boost of being in the room with some of those guys and seeing what they come up with. I know I would push myself to write the best stuff I ever have. Not saying it would compete with anything or get accepted. Maybe I get kicked out in the first session. But still, I know that would push me in a way that I haven't been pushed in a very long time.
Yeah. But anyway, I remember that day meeting you, and I remember talking about Bloodborne and talking about the writing, and this was part of an agenda, knowing that this is something that would bind us together. And it's pretty funny now that we have a podcast about it, because I remember specifically the conversation points that I had in my head to bring up, much like the outline that I have today for episode 2. And
you made conversation points.
I ran some simulations.
God, you had a direct hit, man. Only bangers in this conversation. Oh, it totally worked, and I'm so glad it did. But so since meeting, we've talked about a million different writing things. We've shared stories. We've dove into lyrics together. Um, Ben has written. He's written screenplays. He's written campaigns, D&D campaigns. He wrote a whole campaign for Shane and I to play our first D&D um, match together, or a story together, campaign together, and flew in and ran the campaign for us, and wrote every character and every decision we could make, and created all these weapons, which I want to get into. I want to have a whole piece on that. It's called the Demon Slake. The Slake. But I think that'd be fun to do when we have Shane on here.
Mm-hmm.
But that and he's also written for video games, written and did all the voiceovers. So voice acted
I
for
did
them.
do that, yeah. For Alder's Blood. Look it up. ALDERS Blood.
Yes, and just I don't know. He's done things that I dream of doing. And I know I've done the same for him. So it's really cool. We have a very large mutual respect for each other, and close friendship through it all. And yeah, it's rad. And actually, Ben's latest writing project is is a musical pursuit. His
Yeah.
band, Ayumi,
Mm-hmm.
which is him. It's his solo act. And why don't you give us a little story about that? Because I think it's really
Yeah.
interesting. Ben is a very good guitarist, but that didn't come around until very recently. So
Yeah, I mean,
talk to us about it.
so I've been playing music. I've been a singer-songwriter for like 15 years. And so I've played guitar pretty much that whole time, and that's been mostly chords and like folk style. Um, at the beginning of the pandemic, with just where I was with like unemployment, still looking for jobs out of grad school, but with where the pandemic was, like things really not looking good on the job market. And I was still at home, pursuing some creative projects, and I was working on music, learning some new guitar songs. There's this artist Christian Lee Hudson, which is he was kind of a bridge for me. He's like a much more technical folk guitar player who engages a lot with the neck and going up higher on the neck, just playing different chord shapes and inversions. And so I started learning his songs, and it started taking up more and more hours of the day. And at some point, I looked at my wife, Julia, and I was like, "Hey, like, what if during the pandemic, while I don't have another job, what if I spent 8 hours a day playing guitar instead of working?" And we saw just what happened if I treated it as a full-time job to try to get as good as I could at guitar. So I started listening to math rock, Polyphia, Ichika Nito, a lot of that. And I started trying to like expand my range of guitar playing into both jazz and math rock. Did a lot of studying on jazz theory. So basically, like, I turned from being like for 14 years sort of like a folk singer-songwriter into just for the past year and a half kind of morphing it into a more full scoped, like with appreciation for different types of instrumental work and also sound design. I built a whole home studio, invested in some production software. So there's been a lot of learning about different virtual instruments and things, how to create full bands on the computer. So yeah, that project is called Ayumi. IUMI. That's my it's sort of like I, you, me.
I love that.
Or like yeah, it's like a statement of connection, or like we are the same. It's also kind of like a verbal hug, like a you sandwich good. And I'm the bread.
I love that.
Um
I haven't got to ask you about that yet or really hear about it, but of course there's depth to it. I know that of course you chose it for a reason, and that's beautiful. I love that. So we're gonna bring back a segment that we did last podcast. We are gonna do a lyrical deep dive on Ayumi and a song that he has out right now that you can listen to called "The Riddle." And that's on Bandcamp. If you look up Bandcamp Ayumi, IUMI. Where is that? Is that the best place to go listen to it?
You can find it on Spotify. If you just look up Ayumi, IUMI, it's the only artist name that's just those 4 letters. It's all lowercase. And yeah, The Riddle is out on Spotify, Apple Music. It's out everywhere. It's fully distributed to streaming platforms. It's on YouTube as well.
Awesome. I'm down to dive into that now, or
yeah.
You want to touch on anything else before that?
No, I'm ready to go into that. So if anybody wants to go listen to the song and then come back, you can feel free to do that, or follow along, or listen to it afterwards, or don't at all. Do whatever you want.
We're also gonna be posting stuff like links like this whenever we have the website up and going and everything like that. Like, we want each episode to have an accompaniment post that just gives you the outline, the links to everything, whatever on the challenges and stuff like that, anything that we talked about. We've also got some segments lined up that we're going to be doing live challenges where Ben and I are we throw each other a curveball and we have to just write something on the spot and come up with it. So we'll be able to see that and just as the community grows, hopefully get to a point where you can even hop in and talk about it and share it and everything. But without further ado, the lyrical deep dive on The Riddle by Ayumi.
So The Riddle is a song that I wrote back in either 2015. And just to give a little background on it, it was typed out on in a phone's notes app, and it was I think I was doing like playing a show that weekend or something, and I really wanted to have a new song, and so I just was writing something pretty much as quickly as I could, and it didn't give me a lot of time to think about the lyrics, which I think turned into my favorite thing about the song, which was that a lot of it was things it just seemed like common wisdoms from off the top of my head, but there were things that a lot of them I didn't think about until later, and they ended up being lessons that I learned later in my life that I was able to go back to the song and kind of reference. So I'll just, I guess, start talking about it from the top.
Awesome.
That's how you want to do it.
I was thinking about this segment. I wanted to know what you thought. Do you think it'd be cool to read it through all the way and then break it down? Or do you think we should just go line by line? What do you think feels better? Because we originally kind of had the song play. Yeah, we had that play. We tried to do that last time on the last episode, but whenever we post it, copyright stuff goes up, and even though it's my song, I have the permission to post this. It's all these big hoops, and we really want to streamline getting these episodes out, so we decided we're not going to play the music. But either or, just whatever you think.
I think I will just
maybe do chunks.
Sure.
Okay,
Let's do that. All right. So there's 5 verses. I could do it in 5 parts if you want.
Yeah, let's do that.
So take it or leave it, the current will come and go. It's perfect in passing, beleaguered by ebb and flow. We're just sitting in between past and future memories. No fussing can amend your means. We're equally under the sky and above the sea.
Did you write this with anyone in mind that you're talking to? Did you write this to yourself? Did you write this to just the audience, to the listening ear?
Yeah, it's written to it's like a master teaching a student in a way. Is what it's supposed to be.
I love it.
Yeah. So it opens with a description of the river, which is like a big symbol in a lot of sort of philosophy and Eastern philosophy. But the river being perfect in passing, beleaguered by ebb and flow being something like an indecision or a moving back and forth. There's an acceptance and a peace and a perfectness in the passage of time, in allowing things to continue and to end and to begin again and to break, and to try to cling too much is sort of that's sort of what it's talking about with ebb and flow, trying to get something
unnatural
back.
to do that.
Yeah.
To cling to it. I love that you placed it's perfect in passing. So it is perfect. It's already perfect. Beleaguered by ebb and flow. And like beleaguered by ebb and flow is like seems like it's burdened by that, but it's perfect that it's burdened by that. You need to have the highs and the lows. You need to have slow and fast.
I've never thought of it like that, but that is a great point too. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. There you go.
Kind of goes back to the Tao that we talked about earlier.
Yes. Yeah. This song I wrote the year that I read the Tao for the first time.
Awesome.
It was
awesome.
I believe this was just a few months after I sort of was processing a lot of it in my head.
My light just went out, but I don't care. I was just moody. Look at this.
Yeah, the whole Right Guys bar atmosphere is.
Yeah. In our bar, we're gonna have to call the maintenance guy to come fix this light above me. But
yep, light out.
That next time.
Yeah. So then it goes into the sort of chorus line for that verse. We're just sitting in between past and future memories. No fussing can amend your means. We're equally under the sky and above the sea. And again, like this whole verse is sort of focused on accepting what is.
Dude, we're equally under the sky and above the sea. That's a dope line too.
Thank you.
I love that.
Yeah, so no fussing can amend your means is kind of just about the idea of determinism sort of in the universe, being that there are minds that exist with tendencies, and like people being egos. We sometimes think of ourselves as something that's outside of the system of the universe of like predictable action and reaction that's been created since like and so we forget sometimes, and we try to change our circumstances a lot, and people get pretty caught up in this, and that it is a state of non-acceptance.
Kind of if you're experiencing a low, there must be something wrong. And it's like maybe there's not. Maybe that's life.
Right.
Maybe I was actually just having a conversation about this where struggle, we're in such a comfort culture where everything has to be as comfortable as possible. It's got to fit in to exactly what we want. This idea of what the perfect life is has absolutely no struggle, has absolutely no lows. It's all highs all the time. If something's wrong, if it's not that, then something's wrong, and you need to medicate, you need to distract, you need to do something, and that is so off. That's not nature at all. Nature is dangerous and beautiful. It's chaos and calm. It's everything. It's how you said it. It's perfect in passing, beleaguered by ebb and flow. Life is just that way. Life is struggle, and you can't appreciate it without it. It's cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Sorry, I keep hijacking it. My bad.
No, it's great. Yeah. So the whole thing about past and future memories, it's the same thing. Just like you're kind of in a lot of ways on a track that it feels like you have control of, maybe in a lot of ways, but like try giving up control. See how it feels. Try letting go. That's, I guess, what this verse is saying.
Awesome.
And that theme is, I guess, continued. So the second verse, knowledge and power, the diamonds that catch your eye, but kicking and screaming is no way to live your life. It's trying our best to see Pascal in the falling leaves, our Eden in the summer breeze. If heaven is patient, then she'll wait for you and me.
Oof. What do you mean by trying our best to see Pascal in the falling leaves?
Yeah, so Pascal's triangle is a mathematical concept that is reflected in nature that shows symmetry, essentially. So seeing Pascal in the falling leaves and feeling the summer breeze.
Is that related to the Nautilus thing that you see where it's the spiral? Whose is that? I don't know.
Sure.
Never mind.
Pascal's triangle.
Symmetry.
You can see it in different ways. A lot of times it looks like a triforce, or it looks like a numerical triangle where like there's all ones kind of on the top and outside, then like the numbers are getting bigger toward the middle and they're all like multiplying together, like the diagonals. And it's like, so the cover of the song The Riddle, the cover art is a symmetrical leaf. And so it's pointing to that line. Seeing Pascal in the falling leaves is just being open to seeing beauty and symmetry in the universe, like seeing it not just as like, oh, the randomness or even inconvenience of a leaf falling on an autumn day, but it is the full beauty of the parallel and paradoxical nature of the universe, like personified into one moment.
Oh, I love that. Wow.
And
that was
so
a heavy one.
It's that, and that is a reply to the first part of the verse. Knowledge and power are the diamonds that catch your eye, but kicking and screaming is no way to live your life. Then it's trying our best to see is saying the way to live our life is trying our best to see Pascal in the falling leaves, our Eden in the summer breeze. If heaven is patient, then she'll wait for you and me. A reminder, even of like the Bible verse, the kingdom of heaven is already here. Right, like we can tend to forget and like look for other things and look for something to be like a separate, perfect place. But Pascal's in the falling leaves, and like the experience of pleasure is in the summer breeze right here.
No, it's beautiful.
So then, verse 3, death. Yeah, death is the riddle that beckoned your mind to doubt. But he'd be forgiven if he would forget you now. Don't you find it awful strange living for survival's sake and dying to escape the end? It's an animal's game. We're supposed to be better than. So this was sort of like just in my young life, like being raised in Christianity and having this concept of the afterlife and death sort of hanging over me as like an intellectual question throughout my childhood. There was a point when I was like 12 or 13, I think I was on the bus on the way to school just thinking about how scary death was and how if I were faced with the concept of death without having any sort of religious framing around it in my head or traditions or any idea of what it would be, how utterly like terrifying that was to me and how I would try to create any scenario that I could or like try to psychologize any way that I could out of that. And I concluded for myself that I would invent religion. And at that moment, I decided I could no longer believe in any religion that assuaged that fear legitimately without knowing that in my heart of hearts that it's just a reaction to how great this fear was inside of me. So death was the riddle that beckoned my mind to doubt. And there was a point at some point in my life where I was thinking about that, and I thought about if I were immortal, I would never have any of these questions about philosophy. I wouldn't think about any of like the things that I spent my time thinking of. I wouldn't think of and like
God, that is so true.
And
if you're immortal, like, yeah.
and how kind of hypocritical it is to really, really care and like put all of your effort into those things, because it's like if death forgave you, if death forgot about you, dude, you would not like like you would just you. And so it's like it's pointing at the hypocrisy of that.
You wouldn't really care about life.
Yeah, maybe you, and it would be like I think you wouldn't care about like I think you wouldn't care as much about like a lot of like death is really at the center, I think, of a lot of our concepts of morality. Like it requires a notion of of knowing about death, or knowing about non-survival, to even have a concept of survival. And so that this verse is so don't you find it awful strange living for survival's sake and dying to escape the end, is like for how much people scramble. You can spend your whole life really not enjoying yourself, trying to not die and trying to like assuage those things as much as you can. And I think really what the song is like saying more than anything is like that we should just forget about it.
Like when you have a finite amount of something, what you spend it on all of a sudden has a lot of meaning. You've really got to think about that. When you have a finite amount of money, you know, what you decide to spend it on, you've really got to think about that, and there needs to be some purpose behind it. When you have finite amount of days, you really need to think of how you spend that.
Yeah.
And like that, the motivations. I know. I think about time very often, especially my wife and I. We're at the point right now where we're trying to have kids. Like we want to start a family, and even in that, like I know how the kind of dad I want to be and how present I want to be, but they're not here yet, and I'm looking at this like finite window, where I'm like, okay, well, then this is like kind of my time to be selfish. This is my time to, if I've got passion projects that I've been wanting to do, this is the time to get them going. Like I've got a limited amount of time, and that causes like the idea of a deadline. I operate so much better on a deadline than if not. I will just procrastinate. Like I think I would be like the most gluttonous immortal ever, like a total waste of godhood. You know, like I wouldn't do anything. There's no motivation to do it. Like I don't know what I would do, but when I get a deadline, like that's how some of my best music has been written, where it's like, crap, I've got 2 weeks, I need to focus, and then I hone in on this bubble, and then I write the best stuff I ever have. You know, live the best life that you ever have. Like
this song was in a very similar pressure cooker actually to that, where it was written in a short period. And it is also my defense for, I think a lot of it kind of doesn't quite make sense. A lot of it kind of loops back on itself in ways that is kind of like illogical. And maybe that's why I'm having a lot of trouble really getting at the center of what the third verse is saying, because it's like so central to consciousness and like my ideas of my life and philosophy, that it becomes like an asymptotic kind of thing. The closer you get, the harder it is to approach. But like
it
I
needs
think ultimately
to be seen like all at once. You know, it's kind of more of a meditation, really.
Yeah, exactly. And I think ultimately what I was realizing when you were talking, ultimately I think what is at the bottom of this verse is like that motivation is super key, and like doing things from a place of fear is counterproductive, I guess. Like whether if death and fear is your main motivation to do something or to not do something, rather than like love, right? Rather than love, passion, and moving towards something.
Well, that and like where I go with it is I start thinking like, if I believe in a loving God, loving creator, why would you create something to fear their life? to come into a life full of fear and that be their motivation. Like that doesn't add up, so that can't be the way. That can't be what we're supposed to be doing here. Like fearing death and fearing the end and like just trying to rush, survive, be comfortable now. It's just it seems like we're missing something there.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
So, do you have the lyrics up in front of you? Is that you curse the sun?
So, death is a riddle that beckons your mind.
Animal skin is supposed to be got better than you curse the sun like it spins just to fold your skin, shaking your fist at the grandfather's winding hand. But there's no point in holding on tightly to the moment. It's the movement that we're living in, and if time were to stop, then I'm sure you would stop with it.
Man, I have to give you props. The imagery of those first two lines, perfect.
Thanks.
Like just flawless victory. You curse the sun like it spins just to fold your skin. Like the only reason it's up there is to age you and weather you, and weather everything around you. That's
Continue
the only thing.
Your sultry morning, for the sun spins only for you.
Yeah, only to plague
you. To toil out the rest of your wiry days.
To wake you for another day of work. Like shaking your fist at the grandfather's winding hand.
That's
just
like
staring at the clock like, God, why are you moving? You're punishing me. Like you're trying to take all my time away. And it's like, that is so real though. And we all fall into that.
Yeah. And then you imagine freezing time and you're not there for that. Once it hits play again, you come back. And that's, if time were to stop, I'm sure you would stop with it. It's the movement that you're living in. So you can't shake your fist at the clock unless the clock is moving.
True.
If your clock stops moving, then you're no longer shaking the fist.
Right. Ooh, I love it. If you get what you want, you're not even going to be there for it because this is, man, that's juicy. I feel like I just ate a steak.
So we've got the last verse. Some whisper secrets and tiptoe within the dark, and some paint their flags with the oil of their bleeding hearts. But there's no point in. But wait, what is it? Oh, but okay, friend, it's still okay. Neither one is listening. Their freedom is hypocrisy if neither considers the possibilities. So it's just about different ways that people espouse ideologies. It's sort of leaving the listener with something to take away as they go back to life, and will be assaulted with voices coming from different sides of people trying to convince them that one way is better than another. And really what the song is ultimately saying, there's no real better way to be. You just accept. And so
the line where you say but it's okay, friend, it's but okay, friend, it's still okay, neither one is listening, is that kind of like, you're trying to find a side to be on and a way to go, but neither side really cares because everyone's just focused on themselves.
Exactly. So the some whisper secrets and tiptoe within the dark, and some paint their flags with the oil of their bleeding hearts. Is like these are both people who have different ways of communicating things or getting the job done, but they both have an agenda.
Yeah.
And like whether they're doing it underhandedly or doing it valiantly on the battlefield, you don't have to listen to what someone else tells you is the right thing to do, because as soon as they start telling you what's the right thing to do, they're a hypocrite.
Mm-hmm. It's like no one's discovered what life is.
Right.
Everyone's living in life. Like no one's got the secret. It's just it's just we're all in life. And if you step back, kind of how we were talking about in that how we're talking about like a meditative state, like where you don't really focus on a point. Your goal is to soften your focus to where you're just taking in.
Yeah.
And it feels like that's how
listening.
we're fighting to find this point of life, so we can be like, that's it. I can focus on it, and now I have a to-do list that as long as I do this to-do list, I will do life, and it will mean something. But that's already missing it, because the real point of life is to enjoy life and to take it in and to listen and to be present for it, and to experience all the other lives that are there.
That's exactly it.
Beautiful. And I think you picked a perfect name. It's the Riddle. It's just
thanks.
It is a puzzle. It's a puzzle to unpack. It's everybody's puzzle. I love that, dude. Bravo.
Thank you.
So when are you releasing your next song?
Hopefully there'll be another song in December. I'm actually still working on finishing up the Right Guys theme song, which I recorded and produced myself. I do
with absolutely no direction from me. I was whenever we were getting on and like talking about how we want to intro it, I would just like play Mac Miller beats or something and be like, yeah, let's go.
Micah would always have these hype tracks for like just our conversations and like our little meetings, like whenever we were going to talk about the podcast, and we come into the Right Guys bar and it would just be like Suicide Boys playing or something really extreme.
Oh, dude, just come on into the bar, man. I got some tunes playing. Let's chill. And I think the conversation went from like, man, I don't think we're gonna be able to get the licenses for these dope songs. I think, and then you're like, I could probably make something, and I was like, yeah, go for it. What? And you're like, well, what do you think? What do you think? And I was like, something vibey. Just, I think that was it.
That's my creative direction.
Your challenge. Write something vibey. And good God. And then I didn't hear anything about it, and I was fully expecting, before we recorded the first episode, when we met up for our test call the day before, I was fully expecting to be like, oh, dude, sorry, I'm still working on it, or I totally forgot, because you didn't say anything, and then it just got brought up, and you were like, do you want to hear it? And I was like, oh my God, you did it? And let's talk about it for a little bit. Like, will you unpack? There is so much genius going on there, and we will post it. We need to get that up on a Spotify or something.
Yeah, maybe. It has to get released somewhere, but the problem is if we put it up on Spotify, the distributors will like start claiming wherever it appears. Right. And so like we kind of have to keep it as like this offline little, we can like send it around for
we
sure.
Could just post it. We could post it on YouTube.
Yeah.
And like with just our logo or our backspot or whatever like that, like the bar.
Yeah, for sure.
And then you could just go on and play it. But dude, it's so sick. All right, so go
yeah,
for
so
it.
It was a challenge in itself to write a song about writing without words. A lot of little paradoxical pieces here.
That's a gnarly sideboard.
And so, I mean, if you guys want to do an unpack on a lyrical deep dive of the actual instrumentals and sound effects at some point, I totally can do that. But essentially, the song is a collection of like, a lot of the percussions are like collections of different writing samples. So like the scribbling of a pencil, is like sort of before the first drop. You have this intro of like a pencil scribbling, and it's like this writing, and then
and that's actually
drops,
you scribbling. Like you actually created all these.
Yep, I have the papers right here. These are the papers that I scribbled on. These are my note pages for Right Guys. I do recycle the ripped out pages. So every drop was like one of these pages that I ripped out.
Oh, I love it. Those are the actual. That's the actual song in visual right there.
History right here, and yeah, so then it drops and the paper rips. That's like you're writing, and then like you got your idea down, so it kind of rips off, and that writing was introducing all the instruments in the first part.
Did you have like a typewriter like ding?
Yeah, there is that after the first drop. But in the first part, you have the pencil actually scribbles in every instrument. So like it starts off with the piano part, and the pencil draws that in, and you actually hear the swipes line up with the timbre of the piano, and you hear it bleeding out of the sound of the graphite, and then you hear a stapler click, and it's like that instrument is now stapled to the page, and then it starts drawing the guitar.
Pin
and
it
then
on the
you
wall.
hear it draw the guitar, and then you hear the stapler click, and then it starts drawing the piano. And then the page rips.
Almost like you're working a loop pedal.
Yeah.
Play it and then get it looping. Now start the next instrument.
Yeah.
Get it looping.
The loop pedal of writing. And then it goes into typewriter sounds after the drop. And there's like a typewriter like ding effect with the fill. There's also chalk and whiteboard, like marker squeak. There's chalk on blackboard. But it's all about flow state and like being in stages of writing, moving through stages of writing. I don't think if you've been watching on YouTube, we don't have the theme song in its long form on YouTube just because of different restrictions. But if you listen to the podcast on Spotify, where it is up at the end, we are able to play the full theme song at the end. So you can always hear the full theme on there, but you'll only hear the beginning of it in the YouTube videos. But yeah, I'll get into the bridge. You haven't heard the bridge if you've only watched the YouTube videos, but we can talk about that next episode.
So wanted to mention in the comments, because we're reading all the comments, and we're trying to get back to everybody that we can, and of course all submissions, reading all submissions. And one of the comments was really, really great point. Somebody said, hey, are you going to do any deep dives on instrumental writing, like instrumental story writing, which is a total thing? I mean, that's like classical is all about that. And it really does translate when you see, like, when you hear what a story is about, what an opera is about, or an orchestra is about, or a symphony, a piece like that, you hear it and you see it, and it starts coming to life to you. And I want to dive in on that. Maybe next episode.
Yeah. My favorite book series in the world, the Kingkiller Chronicles.
Quoth.
Quoth in book 1. It's called Name of the Wind, the book, and he is a lute player, and he plays
like a bard.
Yeah, and he's sort of fluent with the instrument, and he plays things like he'll look
leaves
at
falling.
Yeah, he'll look at the grass and he'll play Morning Dew on grass on the guitar, and like he'll capture the essence of it with the notes.
That is such
and
a
in my mind,
thing.
I have these like melodies, and like I can come up with what does that sound like to me. And that's exactly what I did for the Right Guys bridge. The guitar solo is pretty much word for word. Each riff is a full concept, and it comes out to be it's about the bridge is about writer's block.
So yeah, we're gonna have that. We'll do that on another episode. But great suggestion. I don't have it in front of me, but whoever said that. And please, if you have other suggestions, what Ben and I like, what charges us up the most about this entire concept, other than along with just getting to hang out with each other and inspire each other on writing, but is to create this community where we can make this whatever y'all want it to be too. And so like, just like that guy on YouTube in the comments being like, hey, it would be really cool if y'all did a segment like this. We read that and we're like, dang, that's a really good idea. Well, let's just do it. Mm-hmm. So if you have any other ideas for segments, any ideas, like certain things that you're struggling with writing, like that you commonly, like pitfalls that you fall into, share them with us, and let's get it on the table, and let's chop it up. And
please send questions to our Instagram.
Yeah. Instagram or Gmail. I just got the Gmail hooked up to my phone, so that's pretty direct source.
That's a big win.
Yeah.
Mike has access to the Right Guys email account.
I did that today. Woo! Yeah. So anyway, we'll get into that. Um, so that wraps up the lyrical deep dive section. Thank you so much. That song is the Riddle and Ayumi. Go check it out.
Please listen on Spotify. It's if you go to my Instagram, you can also find it through there probably somehow. But im.ayumi.
Awesome. All right, moving on. We have a new segment to introduce.
Oh yeah.
This last episode at this point we played Dead Words, and that was a ton of fun. And I've loved to see like people in comments like man, I'm really trying to cut out time to write, but I keep fluencing about, you know, like we got a submission, like the title is what was it, flouncy smatch it, just stuff like that. Like people already starting to use the words and joke around and everything. Fruncy. It's just super cool to already see that kind of stuff coming to life. Those words crawling out of the grave.
Yeah, the smatchets are coming out of the woodwork.
Smatch it was a hit. So that was a banger right off the bat. So this next segment is called That But Then. What we are going to do here is we haven't discussed this. We haven't discussed any of these things yet. We just kind of came up with the concept and was like, yeah, let's go. So we're going to do this live. And we're going to trade off. We'll
start with you writing down a story. Yes.
And we're both going to write down a story, a common story that everyone knows. And then he's going to write down a time period. And we're going to talk about what putting that story into that time period, how it would change it. Could we switch genres? What would the characters be doing? You know, like how would they execute the story still has to happen.
Yeah.
But how much of it would have to change to create this new thing? And it's again, like I had this idea because a lot of times I'll be writing something and I'll get bored as hell of it. And I'm like, dang it, does this suck? Like it's just not entertaining. It's a cool idea. What's going on? And sometimes like I'll be like, man, I haven't really painted out the time period yet. Like, who is this? Like what does their day look like? How did they get here? What kind of room are they in? Is it electrically lit? Is it fire lit? What are the problems that happen with that? You know, like what are they going to eat? You know, like what and then so I sometimes I find like if I throw a time period on it, whether I say what the time period is at all or not, just as the writer creating it, that puts a little bit more framing that kind of helps funneling my ideas. And then sometimes, especially if you're writing dialogue, you've got dialects and you've got like you can dive into a little bit more dated, like antiquated words, or maybe if it's in the future, you create words, you create products and stuff like that. So anyway, without further ado, but then we'll start out. Well, let's start. Okay. Here we go.
All right. All right.
Okay, I'm ready.
I'm ready.
You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. Fast and the Furious in 10,000 BC.
Yeah, sorry, let's get this shot.
That's so perfect. Oh, man.
I'm seeing like some Flintstones type cars with feet sticking out the bottom.
I'll let you know right now, if Fred Flintstone was in that, I mean, he'd be burning everybody. That guy could run that car faster than anyone.
Or are they using dinosaurs?
Oh, I like that better. Okay.
Right.
So obviously, I'm thinking raptors would definitely be a big something very popular.
Yeah.
That would also open up.
can I just quickly establish what type of like Fast and Furious, like, 'cause first of all, I've never seen a movie. I don't know any of the actual plots. So are we just saying this is just a general
you are
racing
missing
theme? Or is there like are there plot points that you want to hit?
What a disservice to use such a broad stroke. There are levels, man. The show is an onion. So let's set the scene. Vin Diesel.
Yeah, keep going.
Okay. So yeah, yes. If you want to do the biggest, broadest stroke, it's about racing. It's about underground racing. Now, there's deep relationships, there's deep stories, there's ties. People from all different. There's people from all different walks of life doing this. I mean, you've got guys, to get your street car to the race. You got the guys who like wait tables and they put every dime they have into it and they got to do all the work themselves. You got the rich guys who just show up with a badass ride, and they could care less if they wreck it or whatever like that. So you've got different levels of drama going on and these people going head to head. And then there's love stories and feuds. And I think at some point, I mean, they're on 11 now, so there's a lot.
Tell me what elements we want to capture for the 10,000 BC version.
What do we want to do? I mean, it's got to be underground street racing.
Okay, that's what I meant by can we just paint with the brush of racing?
Yes.
Well,
it's underground street racing. Okay.
Sorry.
So it's not just racing.
Yeah.
And they're like sponsors or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm already thinking like, okay, you take Fast and the Furious and you put it in 10,000 BC, and we're talking about dinosaurs and stuff. Again, as we discovered on the first episode, I'm not a historian or paleontologist.
I mean, that's why I went with something really high concept. I was like, if I try to put in like 1756, we're just gonna be grasping at straws.
Okay, so let's say 10,000 BC range. So I mean, I'm sure we'll hit something.
I was aiming for like a general like caveman type vibe. That there's a film called 10,000 BC that features heavily woolly mammoths, cavemen, loincloths.
Okay, so
beers fashioned from stone.
Are dinosaurs around then? Or is it woolly mammoth stuff?
All right, let's look up 10,000 BC.
Okay, good call. Let's Google this. Little quick history lesson.
At some point, we'll have a zoologist on staff for this. As we were discussing earlier, we'll be staffed out.
Yeah, and he's just going to have to be there for every episode because, we're doing this stuff live. And we're not going to plan it out. Let's see.
I guess we need a historian more than a zoologist.
Okay, 10,000 BC. Okay, there's the film. Okay, I see a saber-toothed tiger. Very badass spear that this guy has. Okay, saber-toothed tiger. That would be a good car
mount
to race with. Good mount. Yes.
Mesolithic is what it was called. Mesolithic era animals. Okay.
Oh, that's good.
Oh,
talk to me. What are you seeing?
I mean, deer, elk, sheep, goat, ibex.
The usual suspects.
They got, I guess, like maybe this is more of a Flintstone car type.
Okay. So this, I'm just gonna dive in. Okay, so right now I'm seeing like instead of like mechanics, you would have trainers, people who are like the best trainers. Like they know how to get what's like really deep.
But they also have to be able to somehow modify the animals. I think not only just like finding them and training them, but also like working on them.
Well, in Fast and Furious, one of the the sacred tome, they do evolve into, these cars have weapons on them, stuff like that. So maybe after being like a great trainer and you have, sacrificed your food, which is so valuable to make sure that your IBEC is jacked and ready for the race. They also have so they have like nitrous oxide, where like you got to have that if you're street racing.
Yeah.
And they always it's
boost.
the boost.
Yeah.
You always save it for that moment. And so I'm thinking we have like cocoa leaves, like they've got some kind of like some paste, some remedies that they've made up to where like they're riding, and it's like guys pulling ahead and he's like, oh, I got one shot at this. Just smears like this like like cocaine like paste over the Ibex's nose, and
Yeah.
yeah. It just starts charging, and he's like, and the guy's thinking like, oh man, I don't want to blow its heart out, like I put so much into this. That's too much boost.
Too much boost.
But he pulls ahead. There's a lot of drama there.
Yeah, so they do like drag racing type stuff, right? Because the cars will get in accidents and stuff.
Oh yeah, oh man.
Yeah, so I'm thinking like there's definitely a whole element of battling with the animals, like
yes, I love that.
Like
so that when you're picking your animal, that's probably something you think about. Like, okay, how am I going to race this thing?
Speed,
am
but
I
also
going to be the bruiser?
Power. Yeah,
it like working that scale, and so you'll have some people who want to just be the fastest thing. Is like, if they can't catch me, I don't have to fight them.
Oh my god, dude! So there has to be a guy who has like a modded out tortoise for like a whole like tortoise and the hare part of the story.
And it's
the
like, weapons.
Yeah, it's like super slow, but he's just like sniping people down from like across the
like he gets in the race and everyone's like, good god.
I think maybe he's the villain or like he's like
Bowser.
Yeah. Just
I love
Bowser.
That. How big did tortoises get in 10,000 BC? Let's see here. I'm just going to say that. How big? Okay, that's a lot of. Anyway, they were big, guys. Okay. I love that. Okay. I'm also thinking like different races, different terrains, you're going to pick different things. So maybe you're hot on the race scene and you've got your garage, or in 10,000 BC, you're hot on the race scene and you've got your stables and your menagerie, your bestiary. And it's like, okay, where's this race going to be? And it's like, oh, this one's up a mountain. And you're like, oh, I'm definitely using my goat. Like, this thing is going to crush. A saber-tooth tiger, maybe you're not good at training anything else, but you are the best trapper. And you've got the biggest balls in the world to ride this thing. But it is erratic.
Is there any particular character from Fast and Furious that you think really lines up with that kind of vehicle?
Vin Diesel.
Yeah. Okay. So what's his character like in 10,000 BC? Let's get into that a little bit.
Oh my God. Okay.
So he trains. He catches saber-toothed tigers because he's a trapper.
Yeah. And okay. I love that. He's a trapper. He's not really a racer at all. He wants the biggest, baddest thing out there.
Is there a corollary to that in the series? Is he kind of not a racer, but he's more of like an assassin or something? Is he?
I'm not gonna lie. I've only seen it once, and it was a long time ago. So I don't know. Let me tell you this: he's a badass.
Okay. Yeah.
And everyone respects him.
Yeah. So he catches.
And he comes out with like everyone's got these souped up rice burners and stuff like that, and they're just like these like small engine, like turboed out, all this. And he comes out with like the Dodge Charger or whatever it is, or the GTO with the freaking engine coming out of the hood and all that, and it's like popping wheelies and everything. So I'm thinking definitely he's the saber-tooth tiger.
Cool.
Trapper.
Mm-hmm.
So he's jacked, deaf. Also, he's a total bad boy because he's a trapper and not even a trainer. So he gets all the girls. But it's dangerous. His races are dangerous, because he's reckless.
And he's riding a saber-toothed tiger.
Riding a saber-toothed tiger, which
it's a feral animal.
it's a feral animal. Like you can tell it what you want it to do, but ultimately it's going to decide if it wants to do that or not.
Yeah, so I think that becomes a big part of the racing in the series is like a lot of the animals that they've chosen are not like heavily like focused like racing animals, and so a lot of times it does devolve into fighting on the battlefield in a way that they can't control it to like keep moving on.
Yes.
But like if they so maybe it's like if they're kind of drag racing against each other and their animals start swiping at each other, like if they're directing it too much toward that, then it can spiral into like a full-on confrontation where they're just stopped on the ring.
Maybe winning the race is the ultimate win. Undisputed, if you cross the finish line first, you're the winner. Or you're the last one not disabled, like a destruction derby. So it can go either way. Every race can go either way. So that's why Tortoise Guy, he rarely crosses the finish line, but it's hard to bring that boy down if it turns into that.
Yeah. So the last one to cross the finish line wins also. That makes sense.
Well, the last one could be the first.
Yeah, could be. But the first to pass the finish line and the last would win. I think that's really cool because if everyone else.
What do you mean?
So the first person to pass the finish line wins. Anyone else can pass the finish line and they're just out of the race. But the battlefield becomes who's the last one to cross the finish line. Like you have to be brave enough to stay in the ring until the end.
Good.
So the first and the last win.
Damn, I like that. And you could get somebody who like gets to the end and he just like stands by the finish line and just like like blocks boys. Man, I'm already thinking if I'm Tortoise Guy, I am working up some kind of elaborate balloon system, much like Breath of the Wild, Zelda. And I float that shit over the entire course, drop it down right before the finish line, and you shall not pass.
There's no point to block it because like people who go through are just essentially eliminating themselves.
No,
because like
I want the story.
Yeah, that is the villain character.
My tortoise wants blood.
I think that the tortoise is a great villain for that. Then someone who actually is blocking the finish line. Yeah,
I think that's
could
good
go
stuff.
through.
But that's not it. What he could have had the win, but he doesn't want that. He wants blood. He wants to make a point, a statement.
Should we create another?
Yes. Okay. So that is Fast and the Furious in 10,000 BC. I think that's great. Okay. So yeah, another thing you need to know about this with we're trying to, just like Dead Words, where we share a few and then decide which one we need to bring back. With that, but then we're gonna share. We're gonna do a few. And then we're going to decide. We're going to try on 3 of these, and we're going to see which one I would actually like to see that movie made. Like we're going to decide which one wins.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's I'm going to choose the time period. You are going to choose the story. So here we go.
Ready?
I'm ready. Let's say Okay. God, my handwriting is terrible. Anyway. Okay, you ready? 1, 2, 3. Rocky. Oh, this is good. Okay, so Rocky, in the time period of year 2020 as seen from the 50s. So I'm talking like retro futurism. You know, where they
Yeah. Okay.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, like 2001 Space Odyssey.
Yeah, like they thought we were going to have flying, basically like flying Oldsmobiles and and everyone have their jetpacks and and all that ray guns for sure. Pretty much like if you play BioShock or Fallout, you know, like that kind of like retro futurism.
Yeah. So what is boxing in that world?
Whew. Man, I'm kind of immediately going. It could be like a robot type thing. You have robot boxers, but you know what? I thought about robot boxing a lot, and it just doesn't have the soul in it. You know?
Right. That's what Rocky's all about.
Yeah.
Going 9 rounds.
mechs.
Yeah.
Where you're wearing the suit of armor, maybe.
Right. So how do you see that in a 2020 as seen from the 50s lens? Because like mechs is sort of like a modern idea of like sort of like what cool combat gear is like. But I feel like what we were seeing in Space Odyssey is like much like sort of like bigger, maybe like clunkier, like an like old timey style mechs, like something you would see in like Fallout. That's like really like cumbersome.
Yeah.
And like it's like got like a bunch of tubes coming out.
Very
like,
dangerous. Like these things blow up all the time and just smoke whoever's in them.
Yeah.
I could see that. I could also see kind of what boxing would be like that, like in there, like where everyone kind of wants to make things bigger, more fantastic, more sensational. What if like you box on jetpacks, like it's boxing in the air, and like it's a danger zone. Like so, say what if you kind of have like Mortal Kombat style arenas, and there's like a pit of I was about to say space sharks, but that doesn't even make sense. But so like there's like some kind of, you don't want to fall. That's what I'm trying to say. You don't want to fall. That's like instant death. I definitely think it should be to the death. I definitely think that
I mean, if he loses, like,
well,
the story of
maybe near miss. Oh, that's true. That's true. Okay,
the
so
story of Rocky's about going 9 rounds and just surviving it.
Yeah, true. Okay, so it can't be to the death, but death could be there. Like,
well, death could be an element.
Death could be there. I'm kind of digging the idea of seeing like these guys like flying around on jetpacks and stuff. What do you think about that?
Yeah,
I like
think that's
that.
good. Yeah, some really dangerous, like super clunky jetpack.
Yes, like black smoke everywhere, and it's like
it's like just terrible for the atmosphere.
Maybe it's like jetpacks are to the point where they're more like boost packs, where it's like
yeah,
and these guys are swinging by like. I'm liking that. Okay.
So what do we have for the training montage? Because you have this famous kind of montage in Rocky. He's running up the art museum steps.
I see him like tweaking his jetpack, and Mick is there with him. Mick is just this old salt who's like he's like grizzled old mechanic, and he's like he's like tweaking the fuels. And it's like blowing up in his face, and Rocky's like grabbing him. They're like, whoo. And then like shows him like in the I see like a whatever I was thinking like a farm or something like that, but maybe like a big warehouse, where he's kind of like in Iron Man when he's like testing out his boosters. I see him just like and mix like, and so he's like practicing his like boost punch. And he flies into the wall, and then like leaving the doctor's office, with his like space cast on. Mm-hmm. I'm seeing like sponsors. I'm seeing like
he could do some kind of like special like heightened gravity training, like on like a rocket or something.
Yes,
it could be a whole space chapter.
Bring Dragon Ball Z into it. Have the hyperbolic chamber. Like hyperbolic, like 4 times gravity.
Yeah,
I love that. Okay, all right. So that's Rocky, in 2020 as seen from the 50s. So, which is a roundabout way of just saying a retro futurism Rocky.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that. 2 solid choices already. Okay, so it's my turn for last one.
Yeah, you're writing story and I'm writing year.
Story and year. Okay, here we go. I got a good one.
All right.
Okay, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
1, 2, 3. Titanic in 900 AD. All right. So 900 AD, we're talking.
That is firmly in the Dark Ages, I believe.
Is it so medieval?
Yeah.
We're talking castles.
Yeah, I think there's this meme that I saw recently that I really love, and it's like an old time, like old English style, like embroidery type drawing of like a like minstrel looking like mid-century European whatever guy like pointing up at like a mill, and it says your mill grinds, or it says my mill grinds peppers and spice, your mill grinds rats and mice.
Sick burn,
Yeah.
dude. Whoever unrolled that scroll that was flown to him by pigeon was furious. You could hear his anger through the halls.
Yeah.
Servants running, "What is wrong, my lord?" He's like, "God, Grizzlebane smoked me again. How dare ye talk about my gris?"
Yeah, dude, I feel like I mean, I've always been such a fan of fantasy, Middle Ages, Dark Ages, and everything.
Same.
Like but like recently, there's like a strain of sort of like nihilistic comedy that I'm seeing come out of like Dark Age type media that I think is so funny.
I love that. I want to get into that rabbit hole. Okay, right. So Titanic.
Yeah. So in the Middle Ages, yeah, you can imagine them constructing some type of massive vessel to take on the seas.
Yes. Right? And so this is also like the pride of, this is like the biggest ever, biggest done. And so this guy's whatever grand kingdom,
right?
You know,
and
is doing this.
Titanic, you know, 20th century Titanic happens very much in a world where there's posturing going on, there's a lot of like social class systems in place. That like the story of what was happening with the Titanic was not necessarily one as of dire circumstances that probably were very present in 900 AD of the reasons that they would have been building a large boat. I would think would maybe not necessarily be as much about creating like a party atmosphere for like some rich people to go. I mean, maybe that's what it is, and maybe that's the direction we go. But I think it could also be totally accessing like a need of like we have to build the most massive vessel. And
so a lot of motivations in medieval times were around power grabs, and you know, definitely like balls and stuff like that were also posturing, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, like, yeah, you do have that, yeah, for sure.
But and resources were very much a focus. Whoever can control the most resources can build the biggest army. Whoever's got the biggest army is the person has the biggest stick in the schoolyard, and you don't mess with them. And then they come and start taxing you, and if you don't want to face their army, you just got to pay the taxes. They start all that stuff. So I do like the like still having like the commercial element of like I'm starting to see kind of like this kind of some subterfuge here, like a little espionage of like a reckless king wants to, like, his hidden agenda is to cross the sea because he's conquered everything around him, but he has to make port in oh my god, what if it was kind of like a Trojan horse theme? But anyway, he's got to make port somewhere in another person's kingdom. So the only way this guy's going to let him in is if the other guy's got something to benefit from it. And so it's like, no, this is a cruise liner. This is you cross in style. It's a palace on the ocean. And you can also bring your servants. So maybe he sends it. Oh my God. Okay, here we go. So he sends it to invite him over so they can make this passage. Like he's sent this homing pigeon, which this is a badass homing pigeon. It can cross the ocean. And he sent this thing, and basically maybe he's like, hey, I want to merge kingdoms. and
Mm-hmm.
I've built this vessel where we can traverse through like to our kingdoms and take all of our servants and blah blah blah, and like we can also work in merchants and stuff like that, and we'll make so much money.
Let's find out a little about 900. Maybe there's like a plague or something going on at that time that they're kind of trying to escape also by getting off the mainland.
That's a good motivation. Plagues are everywhere. It is terrible.
Yeah, I'm sure there was some kind of plague in 980. Let's just say plague.
Plague's going on. Big motivation. Hey, guess what? You know where the plague stops? The water.
Indeed.
Ooh, what if he sends over this big ass cruise liner and dang no. Maybe it starts out as a like a good relation, like maybe the intentions are not nefarious. Maybe the intentions are really to create this super kingdom and this grand alliance. Maybe they start out as friends. Maybe they're brothers. Maybe they split up and they do this. But then it's this huge success, and one of the other brothers gets greedy and is like, dang, if I just had this, then I would be the only person around with 2 entire lands. And what if in the steerage after this thing, it's got to go down on its maiden voyage. That's a big thing about the Titanic.
Yeah. I'm thinking it has both of them on board. I'm thinking that it's intended as like a peaceful thing.
Okay. Okay, I like that.
Both kingdoms or something on board. So, but in Titanic, so you have this drama that's happening between the core cast of characters, right? Jack. Is Jack lower class? Is that
Low
part
class.
of the story?
Yeah.
Okay.
He won his ticket in a card game right before the kickoff.
Right. Okay. So let's settle this, okay? So Jack.
And Rose, I think, is it Rose?
I don't know.
What's the chick's name?
Is she nobility?
Yeah.
Right.
She's high class.
Okay, I'm seeing the pieces falling into place.
Yeah. Okay, all right, give it to me.
So
I see those juices.
We've got the yeoman kind of, right. The Jack, the main character, is like this peasant character, wins a passage on this maiden voyage for this cruise that is taking like the whole the castle's staff, I guess.
Okay.
Maybe he somehow gets in by getting a ticket to be on staff somehow temporarily or something, and that's how he gets in. But there's a lower class guy, higher class girl. The ship is what would the ship's name be that they're creating? This will be the Titanic, I guess.
Yeah.
The gigantic.
We'll call it the ye old Titanic.
Ye old Titanic. I found out kind of recently that the Y in Old English was like their markation for the TH. So like they were just saying the all the time, but also like you was thou, and like ye was thee. Like talking to people. Like was always just supposed to be like, "Are thou hungry?" Right?
I love
Y
that.
is just TH. Yeah.
Well, okay, so I like that. I'm also thinking like it'd be fun to what kind of game does he win his ticket on? You know, like if it wasn't poker at that time, maybe it was like the hand stab game where you
Mumblety peg.
Yeah, maybe something like that, or
it could have also
a
been
drinking game.
Yes, it could have been a duel.
Oh, boom. That's a duel. Yeah. Like, yeah, okay, I love that.
Or maybe he once on the boat and he knows someone who's got on and he challenges him.
Oh, I love that.
Duel to get on for some reason. Maybe to see Rose or something.
Well, he doesn't know Rose yet.
All right.
So I'm thinking this is this big deal that this king is making, and maybe he's going to an undiscovered land that scout ships saw, and he is going to, instead of starting a new kingdom over there, he's going to bring his kingdom there.
It's a castle on port. Yeah, it's a castle on port. Yeah.
What if the plan is to actually like beach the vessel when they get there and turn that like they used to do, where they actually turn the actual. There's no going back. Like they're going to turn the ship in, and maybe it's because there's a plague, and they have to get out. They're abandoning territory.
Yeah.
Okay, so iceberg. Do they hit an iceberg, or how does it go down? Maybe one plague rat got on and cursed and it was they were at sea for just long enough. And the boat, a totally silent vessel rocks against the shore of a totally empty land. Whoa. Okay. I feel good about that.
Not a totally empty vessel because
a silent vessel.
Yeah, one plague rat jumps off the ship onto the land and starts infecting the island.
Totally silent, except for the scurrying of one plague rat that. Okay, I love that. All right, so that let's review. That was
10,000
that was that, but
BC,
then
Fast and Furious.
Fast and Furious in 10,000 BC. That was Rocky in a retro-futuristic 2020 as seen from the 50s. And that was Titanic in a medieval 900 AD.
Mm-hmm.
So that concludes that segment. I had a lot of fun with it. I actually loved that. So let's definitely bring that back. The challenge for this week is going to be, and I want to ask you about this. Okay, so do we want to, because I really liked all of them, and
I think it's a good idea to make the challenge be to choose one.
Okay, cool. So I don't know. I can't pick a favorite. I want to see all of them written. So the challenge for next week is going to be, and we'll review this again, but the challenge for next week is going to be write a short story. What do you think? Do we want to keep the 400 word maximum, or do we want to bump it to 500 words? Or do we want to do a short?
There's still. I mean, we could do that, but there's still no minimum. I mean,
yeah.
Or 50-word minimum.
50-word minimum. Okay, so let's do 5,500.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's do 5s. It looks good.
Yeah. So what you guys can do is you can take any one of these 3 challenges and you can just write something that is like something that would be that mashup. You don't have to go based on what we were talking about today. You don't have to write the version of Titanic that we just wrote from 900 AD. You can do your own version. You don't have to write the whole story. You can just capture one scene or one shot or an iconic moment even, but just showing that you're synthesizing, doing that internal creative alchemy of the time warping effect. And then
whatever your snippet is, however long or short, when we read it, you've got to be able to tell the time period, and you've got to be able to tell that it's from Titanic. That's why we chose just very common stories that everybody knows. So that's gonna be fun. So that's the challenge. We'll repeat it again at the end, but I can't wait. That's so fun. I don't know which one I'm gonna choose.
Yeah, me neither.
Rocky with his boost punches, or that sneaky plague rat. Okay, so on to the challenges. We are getting to the end of this episode, and it is now time to talk about the challenge of last week, which was
the recipe
Ben's challenge.
Story. Cook it up.
Cook it up, which I may want to change the name of that. I was thinking like cook it up, cook a book.
Cook a book is pretty good.
I think it's gonna be cook a book from now on. But Ben had the devilish challenge. I racked my brain about this for a while, and literally, I didn't write mine until like the day before cutoff.
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, it was the day of cutoff.
Yeah,
and because I just didn't know what I wanted to do, and I thought about, I had an idea of what I wanted to do. Immediately when you said that, I was like, immediately. So the challenge was write a story that's also a recipe, and it was very open to interpretation. But in reading the story, you had to get a feel for a story. It was a story that took you somewhere, but it also had to teach you how to make something, basically, and points for steps and all that stuff. But when you immediately said it, you're like, write a story that's also a recipe. First thing that came to my mind was like, I'm gonna write a recipe for disaster. And I was racking my brain about what that would be, and it just didn't. It did nothing came. All week, nothing came. I started writing. I was bored of it. I was like, and then anyway, we'll get to what I wrote later. So we're now gonna share with each other and y'all some of our favorite submissions. We got some awesome submissions on this, and the cutoff was 400 words, which I really struggled with on this one. I had like multiple chopping sessions that I had to sit down and be like, okay, I got to cut another 25 words. You kidding me?
Yeah.
But anyway, why don't you go first?
All right, cool. Okay, this first one that I'm going to read is from, let me do Michael. Okay. Silently.
This is Michael Andrew? Michael Andrews?
Yes, indeed. This is Michael Andrews, yeah.
Sorry, we weren't saying last names, but
he's a friend, right? So
yeah, he's a friend of mine.
Good. We're saved by the bell. I did not know that he was a friend of yours when I chose it, but yeah.
It'll be okay.
Silently, he crept into the house where the newborn slept, cradled at rest. Gently lifting it from the bed, turning, he fled the house, a thief in the night. 3 innocent lives did he steal this unholy night, hastily bundling each in a rough woolen sack. Slinking home, he grinned, his plan coming to fruition. His implements awaited, glinting in the firelight, knives, dull blades, and boiling pot. Gently setting down his bundle, nothing stirred, no sounds, just as planned. One by one, he dropped each, body whole, into the pot. Watching their lives fade, he began to salivate, staring, transfixed into the boiling torrent. He reached his gnarled hand in, raising the tiny corpse from the water, turning it over, inspecting as water slowly dripped, hissing on the coals below. With a sudden sharp motion, he slammed the corpse to the ground, cracking its blistered flesh. Slowly, methodically, he peeled away the flesh, revealing the white, boiled meat beneath. Taking blade in hand, did he mutilate the corpse, severing the body in half. Only then did he set each piece of the corpse aside, again reaching in the pot, repeating his torturous acts on this, and finally the third. He peered down. The fleshy remains, subtly glistening in the light, he grinned, looking about. His work was not yet complete. Now in need of a devilish implement, a dull metal shard will suffice. He thrust it into the heart of each, slowly twisting. Finally, with a squelching sound, the heart loosed from its cavity. He then laid the skinless, white, fleshy carcasses neatly side by side. He buried the hearts in flower seeds, yellow as sinew, salt white as bone, and a milky concoction all his own that jiggled and smelled of soured milk. Lastly, throwing on top a flowerless weed, a jest of a memorial. Taking pestle in hand, he smote into these once vibrant hearts, vigorously pummeling as sweat formed on his brow. With a last thrust deep into the bowl, the concoction was complete. With bowl in hand, he approached the lying corpses. He nimbly smeared his yellow, mushy poultice, filling the cavity where once a heart did lie. His work was done. The man stood and looked upon his gruesome work, a hunger in his eye, a devilish grin upon his face. He licked his lips as he stared down at his deviled eggs.
Dude, Michael, you crushed it, man.
Yeah, it's really excellently written.
So I read it. I read it once. That was my second time reading it, and first time hearing it read to me. And I feel like knowing where we were getting at, knowing the twist at the end, which I love that it's he stared down at his ... deviled eggs. And knowing that we're talking about deviled eggs and going back again and reading it and knowing that he's talking about like the children that he stole were eggs, and he boils them and smashes them,
cracking their flesh.
Yeah, and the hearts is the yolk, and the soured milk and everything. Like, God, that was just great word choices too. Very colorful vocabulary throughout, and man, like. When I read that first, and I was like, there was something in me. I was like, holy crap, we're going dark.
Yeah.
Uh, and I'm thinking like kind of like a Krampus
Yeah.
character, you know, like boiling
Dude,
children and
I'm gonna
stuff.
be honest. I started it and I was like, all right, we're not gonna be able to talk about this one. This is too much. But
I
by
would
the
definitely
end,
talk about it, but I was like, and then halfway through, I was like, it'd be funny if he was talking about making chicken, but then it was like smashed it on the ground, you know, and like broke like all this stuff and like yellow hearts, and I got lost. I was like, it's not chicken. I was like, is Mike going dark? And then his deviled eggs, and oh my god, yeah, we're gonna get a way to put these up, because I highly recommend going back and now you know what it's about. Go back and read it again. It's a lot of clever play there, so bravo. I now know how to make deviled eggs.
yes, thank you, Mike. We're all better off.
And next time I see a deviled egg, I'm gonna get a devilish look in my eye and reach for the closest
Sharp
dulled shard.
implement.
And he put hints throughout. I noticed too, like a devilish implement,
Yeah.
a devilish grin.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Uh, okay, so I'm gonna read my pick. Or here we go. And actually, it's only fitting. And I didn't know you were picking Mike's, but I picked his wife's, Megan Andrews.
Oh,
Power couple.
a lot of talent there.
Uh-huh. Okay, so here we go. A flicker of flame made Herdisa wish she could burn. Fragments of skin crumbling to the floor, the essence of withered health as death slowly approached. Like 1,000 breaths beating upon her neck, it grabbed her, the desire, the ambition. How she longed to embrace mortality. Herdisa, called father. The time approaches. We must depart. Herdisa lifted her body from a wooden bench and lowered herself down until her torso hit the floor. She walked on her fists. She repeated the will of her father, chin down, hair back, smile not. The townsfolk were coming for the rest of her, ready to destroy the monstrosity. Her legs were severed when she was last captured. She did not feel pain, protected by darkness, a father's love, and the witch's call. She vanished from her captors and awoke in her father's home. 4 years had passed and she was still hunted. Breathing deeply, taking in the last essence of home before shutting the door, she raised herself to a standing position. The necklace worked. The witch hadn't lied. All she needed to do to embrace its power was to breathe upon it and face it towards the sun. Her legs looked real, however, they were as unnatural as she. She traced the necklace along her collarbone, drawing a small amount of blood. She did not notice. Pain was forbidden, and had escaped her the moment she was formed, from both ash and earth. Scorned and hated was the princess of witchery, the priestess of death. Her body, wrapped in skin and magic, was from the form of 1,000 of her youth. Her father bought them and destroyed them. The witch's call. 1,000 bossels of flesh, 47 quibits of earth, 12 bulgire hearts, 1 bone of the loved, 1 mouth to drink. The old hag screamed and raised her staff. The ground sprouted a piercing tone. She plunged her hand into a black cloud and whirled the mixture into a green flame beneath. When the last bossel of flesh hit the flame, it turned red and bellowed a mimicked breath. The witch gathered the mixture in hand and pressed it to her father's lips. He inhaled, seizing her demonic spell. From smoke and ashes she rose, unable to die, unable to burn, unable to mourn, unable to feel. But he had her, his precious Herdisa, queen of the ashes.
It's awesome. Really got to give props to the line writing here.
Yeah.
Both these ones that we've read so far. The sort of the lyrical work, forgive the term, but like just the sounding of the words, really great.
It's got great pace.
Mm-hmm.
It's got great tone. Something that I work on and I geek out on in my own writing when story writing is when to make a sentence as short as possible,
Mm.
like stabby, and when to
Yeah.
bring it on and on and on and on and like and what you're describing, how much more color you can give to it when you do things like that. Um, like pounding in a point,
Mm-hmm.
like whenever she says, he inhaled, seizing her demonic spell. From smoke and ashes she rose, unable to die, unable to burn, unable to mourn, unable to feel. It's like just boom, 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 boom. The cadence is really nice. Um, but what I get from it, I'm getting that, the first like 2/3 of it is basically talking about her life now, and I don't. I need to read it a couple more times, but I think that it tells how her father made her, and basically her father. I'm guessing her father's probably like kind of an immortal guy as well, and wanted a daughter, and he approached a witch, and the witch gave him a recipe for a daughter, and it was the
Yes.
1,000 bossels. I love like bossels of flesh. Like I still want to go in and see. I don't know if these are made up words or if they're real. I
Let's
haven't I
look
haven't
it
looked
up.
into that yet, but either way they work.
Yeah.
Like you don't even have to know that. Like you just say 1,000 bossels of flesh. You're like, in your mind, you're like, okay, I have a picture of what a bossel is to me.
Yeah, it's a really
Um,
good word. Yeah, no, it's not a real word as far as I can tell.
Quibits of
Yeah.
earth.
Yeah.
Like and that's something that's really fun to play with. And another thing that I never got to like play with, in high school or in college was just making up words
Mm-hmm.
that work in the story,
Yeah.
um, with the tone of what's all around it, because there's right and wrongs in school, and
Mm.
that's something I want to encourage everybody to kind of play around with. Like if just
Well,
throw
everyone's
like
got proper nouns. You still have proper nouns,
yeah,
right?
true.
You get to name your cities. You get to name your rivers, your
Yep,
people.
so you're coming up with names like Bulgire Hearts, like
Yeah.
whatever that is. Like that's dope. But hey, bravo, Michael and Megan
Yeah.
both loved that. Okay, we're gonna share two more
Yes.
because these are a little bit longer.
Okay. So the next one I'm going to share is from Izzy. Thank you, Izzy. This is the perfect recipe for a terrible party. So, Micah, maybe take notes for your recipe for disaster.
Yes. Lay it on me. Izzy, show me where I went wrong.
When done correctly, this dish will result in a night filled with trauma and the loss of a close friend and a boyfriend. When attempting to create this dish, one must be sure that all the ingredients are ripe and in season. When I attempted it, everything was extremely fresh. It was June of 2020, the dawn of a racial awakening for America. Cook time, 3 hours, plus years of tension to marinate. Ingredients: one narcissistic and explosive roommate who is desperately trying to impress her supervisor with not so subtle performative activism. Her supervisor, a sweet and graceful black woman who will remain poised and peaceful throughout the evening. Your possessive boyfriend that is quick to get angry. His high school buddies, which unfortunately fit most stereotypes of white cis men. A few other bystanders, and plenty of alcohol of varying types. Directions: in one decently sized DC townhouse, combine your toxic boyfriend, his ignorant white friends, your manipulative roommate, her supervisor, and a few other bystanders to taste. Begin by serving a liberal amount of alcohol and notice where snide comments and knowing looks present themselves. Allow the tension to simmer for 45 minutes to an hour, just enough until fragrant. When racial tension begins a rolling boil, this may be indicated by the phrase, "But taking down statues is erasing history." You know it is time to engage in an argument with your volatile boyfriend. Remove yourself and your boyfriend from the pot and allow that argument to fester.
Oh.
You'll know this step is complete when your roommate comes in, demands you return to the party immediately, and orders you to remove your racist friends. At this point, after about an hour and a half overheat, your roommate should be yelling and saying terrible things, bringing you to tears. Set these tears aside for later. You'll need them as a topping. Your boyfriend will aggressively step into your defense, which will swiftly be met with the phrase, "Get out of my house." Taste test the flavor of the pot for yourself. You should notice that it has hints of racial anxiety, but that the flavor is overall and respectful and reads more as conversational and educational. When asked, the supervisor says that she doesn't mind the white boys and specifically states that she doesn't want them to leave. Step 7. Now the chaotic mixture should have been cooking for about 2 hours, and by this point the supervisor and a few bystanders will make their way out, elegantly leaving their flavor behind and giving everyone, even the racist friends, a hug. 8. Make a valiant attempt to remove the white boys from the pot, perhaps order them an Uber on your phone, and then head back upstairs to your bedroom to avoid getting burned. 9. Complete this recipe with a chaotic and violent expression from your roommate. Angry that the Uber isn't there fast enough, allow her in raw form to barge into your room, screaming all the while, and physically assault your boyfriend. Proceed by kicking both of them out and bolting yourself in your bedroom alone. Sprinkle those leftover tears on top. 10. Serve this dish cold the next morning.
Oh my God. Izzy. Bravo.
Yeah, it's a legendary one,
wow. Dude. That is some right guys. I think that needs to go up on the right guy. We need to find a place for it in the bar.
Yeah, there's a Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Holy crap. That was hilarious. It was current. It was which I always think that modern story like modern stories are they're hard for me. Like I feel like to charge my imagination I have to throw it somewhere else. And so I always respect whenever a really good story is done about something like about a dinner party.
When it can really pull in flavor that feels so particular to the time period, but it is present and current. Yeah.
Oh man, that was wonderful. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And God, like we said, this thing's open to interpretation. That was a recipe, and so cleverly remove boyfriend from pot. In about 2 hours
to sprinkle on top.
God, dude, wow, that is great. Way to go, Izzy. Thank you for that. Okay. This was working out great. My last one I'm going to share is from Anna Marie, and I thought that she did a wonderful job in this again of writing like really sticking to the recipe side of it. So this is called Chicken Soup in Time of Nuclear Apocalypse. 1. Find the farm close to sunset. A farm is good. Maybe something here for you, Jacob, and Eleanor to eat. Your children, 5 and 7, are bone thin, and every time you look at them, the crack in your heart deepens. 2. Find the abandoned well and reel up a bucket of water. Filter twice to get out the poison. 3. Find the overgrown garden. Tangled, dying vines promise potatoes beneath. Start digging. Jacob joins you, and you have to tell him repeatedly not to put the green ones in his mouth because they will make him sick. Something you learned at your grandmother's farm in happier times. 4. Set the potatoes boiling. Find scraggly kale, not quite dead yet. Rip to shreds and add to pot. 5. The children are growing too fast on not enough food. They need meat. Check the hen house and spy a chicken. Unsuspecting, I love this. Check the hen house and spy a chicken. Unsuspecting pecking bugs. Sneak up and wring her neck. Make sure the children are away playing as you slice the carcass open and rip out the guts. Life is cruel, but they don't need to know that yet. 6. Smash the window of the abandoned farmhouse. Find salt and pepper shakers, draped in cobwebs. Season soup to taste. 7. Serve into travel bowls. Give Eleanor some of yours because she looked at you so pitifully. Give Jacob some to be fair. Feel your stomach rumble as you watch your children sleep and know they need this more than you.
Wow. The world is cruel, but they don't need to know that yet.
The world's as she kills, wrings a chicken's neck and rips its guts out.
Yeah, and that's a great line.
She did such a great job of painting this picture, and I can't help but when I read it, I feel like I'm reading like a leather journal, and it's scribed on there, like that someone dug up, maybe.
Yeah, I could feel the dust on the pages.
Yes,
it's okay,
so like Book of Eli time, you're walking through and you go into this room and there's 3 skeletons, a larger one and 2 smaller ones, and a book on the table, and you're thumbing through and you start reading about their last meal or whatever, like I just, and it's a straight up recipe. Like that is awesome. I remember when I was trying to write the recipe for disaster, I went through and I read this one. This was the first one that I read, and she sent this in quick too. But I read it and immediately I was like, "Oh shit, okay, I gotta do better." I was like, "This is really good."
The bar is too high already.
Yeah,
that's
already.
why I never read them until I write mine.
I was on a plane ride and I was just like, our flight hadn't taken off yet, and I was like, "Ooh, a submission." And I read that one, and I decided I wasn't going to read another one until I finished mine, because I was like, God dang it, like that's really good. That is how you write it as a recipe. So bravo, Anna Marie, you're killing it.
Should I do mine?
Yes, I am ready for it. So now's the time where Ben and I will share what we wrote.
Yes.
Here we go.
You got it?
Yeah.
Okay. Simon Belligan's Intergalactic Pancake Mix. 1 egg, 1 cup milk, 1 cup of astral pancake powder. Thank you for choosing Simon Belligan's Intergalactic Pancake Mix as the calorie source to uphold the fragile machine of your body. Follow these simple instructions to huck out 3 small golden iridescent discs of delight and terror. First, whisk your wet ingredients into a bowl. Add astral pancake powder. Stir until batter is smooth but thick. At this point, the batter may begin bubbling, emitting sounds and syllables reminiscent of ancient Latin. Please disregard these noises. Do not attempt to translate. Begin cooking the first pancake on the stove at medium heat. Close your eyes and alight your inner gaze upon the shadowy realm of Shagranath. This is the deity that shall bestow your first blessing. Show him your courage, and this pancake will be infused with the energy of pride and the aroma of lavender. Show him your fear, and this pancake will be cursed with the energy of guilt and the aroma of Subway sandwiches. Do not turn your back on Shagranath until he sends you back to the mortal plane. As you return to your body, remove the first pancake from the heat and begin cooking the second pancake. This pancake will begin its business by absorbing your charisma for assessment. You may feel that your soul is being torn from your body in a moment of absolute primal shock. Some report a light tingling on the roof of the mouth. Whatever symptom you face here, it's best not to dwell on it. Instead, close your eyes and alight your gaze upon the ruined realm of Agaheva, the Dark Martyr. This is the deity that shall bestow your second blessing. There is no gambit that you can make, but pray she looks on the content of your character favorably. If so, the pancake will be infused with the energy of joy and the aroma of pomegranate. If she finds you wanting, however, the pancake will be cursed with the energy of Dr. Phil and the aroma of night sweat. 2 days have passed since you glimpsed the material plane. Open your eyes. Remove second pancake from heat. Cook third pancake normally, flipping halfway through. This regular pancake requires no additional rites and will not be infused with any magical properties, but it's really, really good. Serve with butter and maple syrup. Enjoy your blessings. Mourn your curses.
God dang it, dude. That is so good. And the voice. Okay, so I love Ben's voices and his character voices, and really got to see got to meet some interesting people in the D&D campaign that he wrote. We'll get
That's
into
true.
later. Oh my God, you whipped into it with perfect voice.
Yeah, I was going for like, if you know the game Borderlands, kind of like Claptrap on Xanax.
Yes,
If he had to sell you on some pancake mix.
Totally translates. I love like the speed and pacing of it, and like and tone of it is very much like the fantastic things that it's talking about is as equally interesting as it tasting like pomegranate. Like and the narrator is selling you on that. Like not only will it infuse it with joy, but pomegranate. And you're like, ooh, good pairing. Like, and this will take you to Aganath and make sure your soul's like
The
next
Dark
step.
Martyr.
The Dark Martyr, dude. Oh, that's a joy. I love it.
Thank you.
To go. Is that 400 words?
It is exactly.
Golly. Wow. Oh man, that was so fun. Okay. I struggled with the 400 words on this because I was also just being very stubborn about not wanting to change my story and not wanting to cut things out and stuff. So when I started writing this, the same thing that happened to you last episode, I am just getting past the intro, and I was like, let me check out and see where I'm at. 458 words. I was like, damn it, it was getting good. I have so much. I'm really liking where this is going. It was very much what we talked about on episode 1 of when once I flipped the script where I let go of the whole recipe for disaster thing, and I decided to just write what was on my mind and then started having fun with it. And then I created these characters, and then they just started talking back and forth. And I was like, no, I can't cut this conversation short. Like, it needs all of it. So anyway, we'll dive in.
I'm seeing a lot of dialogue without description between, so I'm going to need voices to differentiate.
Oh, hey, step back. Okay. I didn't title it. Don't be afraid. She won't need much more. Drip, drip. Please, I grow faint. Be brave, my sweet. We have but one shot at this. How much longer, my prince? 2 ounces per second. She needs 70, so just a few more and we'll be back to our magical night. Wasn't the ceremony beautiful? It was absolutely perfect, my dove. Do you like my dress? I've never seen a more pure white. You're the angel's envy. Pure for you and you alone. Annalise, my heart, can you hear me? Drip, drip. Annalise, my rose blossom. Drip. Thank Crawl. My pleasantry reservoir only goes so deep, and you had me scraping the dregs. Talion tosses his timepiece aside. Now for a more efficient method. Up you go. He hoists his bride upside down above the sarcophagus, where shackles quickly accept her ankles. As she dangles unconscious, he opens her throat and bathes the corpse below in a red wash. Rose Blossom! A voice laughs, breaking the silence. Jesus! He spins around to nothing behind. Oh, let's leave him out of this. Sister, how wonderful to have you back. Talion slouches on the edge of the coffin, back to the dripping bride. I detect sarcasm. His sister's voice rings again. Then your detector is working. Shall we get on with this, or am I to get comfortable in here? Just tell me the next step, Kalia. Come now, brother, your 4th awakening. You should know this by now. Plus, it's carved there on the ledge. Right, the curse. I'm not reading it out loud. Oh, please. It's been so long. Fine. Only in the light of the Blood Sister's night can Kalia Sanguinae be revived. To awaken her soul, body, and mind, bathe her in bloods thrice intertwined. First drip dry a virgin bride to awaken her soul in your mind. Next get a drop from a witch's crotch. If tried and tried, her body will writhe. Last give her wine to channel her mind, 13 pints of batwing prime. If all is in line, Kalia will rise to carry the mantle of House Sanguinae. Oh, it never gets old. Oh, I assure you it does. Off to the witch twice tried. She's not going to be happy. Oh, what's new? Oh, it's so good to be back, brother. I've missed you. I've missed you too, sister. They step into the night. Drip, drip.
Dude, that's amazing. I love that.
You like it?
Yeah, dude, it's so cool. It's so good.
Man, like Kalia, I have so much more dialogue for Kalia and Talion. Like they bicker and like they talk
really
about their
good.
curses and stuff, and I had to trim it all down. Like trimming those last 20 words was so hard, and I gotta admit I cheated a little. I kept putting it into the word counter, and when I wrote sounds like drip drip instead of a space, I did an asterisk, so that counted as one word. I gotta fully. I just got so in love with it, and I was like ah. So at first I had direction in between everything, and then I was like, screw it, I'm gonna write this thing as a script. I got to get this thing in, so it's supposed to read like a script, and with the camera direction and everything, but everything.
I mean, and at the beginning, especially with the voices, like the silence in between the lines was like pregnant and real, and I swear you really created a scene, and I'm excited about this as something for Right Guys, with obviously, since we are going to be reading through the challenges and reading through our own stories, obviously just having spoken word story reading is a novelty. It's a real thing that exists out there. People spend money on that alone. And so it's something that as we are going into this podcast, I want to be aware of keeping as one of the prominent sort of premium features that we offer, as like just a sort of an audiobook little listening adventure that you're going to have toward the end of the episode. And I'm definitely down to expand that and say maybe someday this challenge portion is more of the episode or has entire episodes dedicated to it just of story reading.
I love that idea too. And I thoroughly enjoy coming up with voices and working out the pregnant silences, and it's just a lot of fun.
Dude, at the beginning of this, it really reads like a play. Like I could totally see two people with, even just on stage with the lights off, you can only hear the voices. I think you could do the whole thing.
Oh man, I'm so really glad to hear it. Thank you. So while I was hung up on Recipe for Disaster, I took my wife's car in to get an oil change, and my week's been crazy, this, and so I'm like my little time in between to do stuff. I'm sitting there and like I end up like it takes forever, but like literally I was there for 3.5 hours, and I sit down and I'm just going through the new Magic season, and I'm like, God, these vampires are so badass. And I was like, okay, I need to focus. We got to track this up. I got to write my thing. I got to write it. And I was like, okay, I'm just gonna try to write on Recipe Disaster. I was gonna try to write. I was actually writing a party that was like meant to fail, which I'm so glad I didn't now, because Izzy destroyed it. Like absolutely, that's the goat. Like the holy crap. And I was like, screw it. I should have fun. If I have fun, then it's gonna write itself. And that's a big, thing I want to share that helps me so much. Like I gotta make it fun for myself.
Knowing that was the window into what you wrote here is really great, because like I think what you have is such like a unique and cool moment and story, and it's like I would think, how did he come up with this? And it's like, yeah, he didn't start with recipe. He just started with like characters and like a weird situation. And
a vampire awakening. And like I like the idea of like having a bickering, like a vampire brother waking his vampire sister by killing his new virgin bride on their wedding night, and it was just fun. I like dark characters a lot, and I like twisting them up and everything. So
the sister, how wonderful to have you back. So good.
Okay, man, this has been so awesome. I absolutely love this episode. So as we said, we're working on the website. We'll let y'all know whenever that thing's up, so you can actually go in and read our challenges from last episode, our challenges on this episode, the challenges that we read, because I highly recommend you go through and read them again.
We're going to put more on there too, I think. Like a lot of the ones that get sent in are going to end up featured. I hopefully most of them. So
so if you don't want it featured, just say that in your submission, and we'll still read it and we'll talk to you about it. But obviously we want to respect that. But we really want to foster the community here, and I think the best way to do that is just by sharing what everyone's doing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, we are really into sharing your guys' stories, and you guys are sending them to us by email, post whatever you want to do. But, if you want to comment them, this is all up for being just public postable stuff. That's up to you guys if you want to do that. So
yeah, if you don't say anything, then we're gonna think that it's okay to post it. But
that it's at least okay for us to talk about it in the episode, and then at some point on the website we're going to be making kind of editorials where we're rounding up our favorites. And if you don't want to be included in anything like that, definitely specify. And hopefully whenever we have this submission form centralized on the website, then there'll just be some check boxes of the basic permissions of whether you would want your full name written, if you want an Instagram handle or something like that. We can have all that figured out on the site.
Yeah, we could go that deep. We could even just say first names, and that's just kind of the thing. And you can go and see your name there and be like, oh, that's mine, and see people pop up more regularly and everything. So let's just review the challenge for this week, or for the next challenge is going to be to write a story 50 to 500 words using one of the prompts that we created in That But Then, which is
10,000 BC, Fast and the Furious.
Fast and the Furious set in 10,000 BC. Titanic set in 980 medieval times.
And Rocky from a 2020s as seen from the 1950s, or retro future Rocky.
Yeah, a retro futurism Rocky.
Yeah, so writing challenge would be to just try to capture any scene or thing from those stories and into a short piece of writing, 50 to 500 words, that clearly shows that you're set firmly in that time period and that this is the story that's taking place. As long as you have those elements, I'm going to say go crazy with it, make it as similar or different to the way me and Micah described our idea for these concepts as possible. Whatever you want to do, just run with it.
Yep. Awesome. All right. Well, this has been wonderful, and we'll see y'all next episode, where we are going to have our first guest ever. We are going to have Shane Blay of O Sleeper, of Woven War, of A Nullaby, of New Dad.
Dude, yeah, one of the original legends. Just a legend of a human.
My best friend, it's gonna be a lot of fun, and you're gonna see him right here on the TV.
On the TV.
All right, guys, we love y'all. Get writing, have fun with it. Don't stress out. Just enjoy it, and we'll see y'all next time.
See ya
later.